Guys, is Mercury in retrograde? Because my headphones just shocked me.
Oh, I'll tell you because I have my astrology calendar.
Like,
Right
technology's been weird all day, and my headphones literally just shocked inside of my ears.
No, Mercury went direct on the 1st, but the new moon is tomorrow.
Because all day, technology has been very strange with me.
Yeah, no, Mercury's fine. That's on you, babe.
Ow, Meadow, my fucking headphones just shocked me.
I'm so sorry.
What the hell is that about?
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. But there is a new moon tomorrow. I will be making a guide. So I'll keep you updated.
I better get some powers from that. Damn.
I'm so sorry. That is funny.
Well, hi.
Hi. Which intro are we doing right now? Well, hi. Coming in hot.
Coming in hot with my apparently radioactive ear canals. That was so weird.
Sorry to say, but this episode is full of a bunch
Mystical.
of witches. Yeah, exactly. It was she
was just communicating
everything that happened while we were recording when my whole thing went off.
Yeah.
There was a whole.
Yeah. We're too much for technology.
We're too much for technology.
We're too much for technology. You guys, I am so freaking excited about this episode. This is such a special episode that's so close to my heart. Today we have on the one, the only Anne Louise, who I'm so excited to introduce to you all. This woman has been like a second mom to me my entire life. We go way, 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 way back with our families. I was raised with her like a second mom. She's my honorary godmom. Her daughter is my best friend's soul sister, separated at birth vibe person forever. I have learned so much from this woman. And so when she agreed to come on the podcast, I was just so overwhelmed with joy and gratitude because I have been so blessed to witness her greatness my entire life. And any sort of introduction into manifestation, into hearing my own voice, into trusting my own voice, that really came from my conversations with her at a really young age. And she would explore that with me from a really young age. And so I've been so blessed to witness this magic my whole life. And that's why I'm so excited I could explode. And I'm so glad that Meadow finally got to meet her.
Oh, we've only been talking about her for how long?
Yeah. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you've definitely seen photos of me with her daughter, Sophia. And I mean, we spend like every holiday together. And this is family. This is family.
This is family. This is a real, real family episode. It was such a joy. Truly one of my favorite episodes of all time. And jam fucking packed. This one goes out to all of our spiritual girlies, but truly anyone, any belief system, any modalities, you will find so much comfort in this episode and feel so held by this episode. Oh my gosh, it was, let's just get to it. I mean, we do this every week, right?
Tell us the bio.
Enough of us. Yeah. Let me tell you a little bit about Anne Louise if she's not your second mother, so you can get to know her. Anne Louise is a visionary entrepreneur, author, speaker, executive advisor, certified master hypnotherapist, and positive psychology and meditation expert. Okay, get into it. For more than 35 years, she's provided thousands of people with the tools to transform their lives through interactive workshops, lectures, and individual sessions grounded in positive psychology and spirituality practices. Hello, right up our alley. She's worked with over 100 businesses to achieve value-creating results through in-depth team building, negotiation training, and other executive consulting services. Many acclaimed community leaders and business executives warmly refer to her as a soul catalyst, which is like the coolest term of all time. She uses all of her work, she uses a layered understanding of spirituality, metaphysics, and the psychology of human behavior and relationships to empower all of her clients to navigate complex challenges and access their inner knowing, and basically just enable them to create their soul-empowered lifestyles. And she is also a businesswoman. She's have over 3 decades of experience in domestic and international marketing, sales, management, CEO of a global insurance company. The woman really does it all. She also has 2 books, which we get into in the episode, Power Wishing and Visible You, to equip readers with a blueprint to heal and live authentically. And we really, really dig into all of these concepts today.
This episode was really just such a toolkit when it comes to the power of language and manifesting the life that you desire and deserve. We got into everything from obviously the power of languaging, how to get more specific and clear with your words, but all while keeping it simple. That is what I love about her so much, is that usually throughout my life historically, every time I've gone to her with a problem, she's like, what this is so chaotic and why are you overcomplicating it so much? Just simplify this, please. Just,
and
it's
how
simple.
much it's so funny because we had this beautiful conversation with her, and I think it was maybe the next day on a walk, you and I had like a strategy TMV meeting, and it felt like our clarity was 2020 vision. We were like, this is out. There's resistance here. This makes sense. This feels easy. Like it helped us so much, so fast to gain so much clarity on like, keep it simple, stupid. If it makes sense, it makes sense.
Keep it a buck.
Like, stop resisting.
Keep it a buck. It's great. And this episode just really digs in to all of that. We also talked about identifying our non-negotiables, which I think is so fun in the conversation of boundaries.
Yeah.
There's so much to get into this episode. I honestly want to shut up because I need you guys to hear it. But if this conversation was interesting to you, if any of it resonated, be sure to pick up a copy of her book, Power Wishing, or her book, Visible You, which she co-authored with her daughter, Sophia. And make sure to check out her website. This is annelouise.com for upcoming workshops, just to stay on top of everything that's going on in the world of Anne Louise. And we will put all the links in I always want to say the description below. What's it called? Our show notes.
Also, the magic of bringing family into it is that we've already roped her into coming back. So as questions come up, it's all a long con to just get Anne Louise to be involved in anything we ever do. But so as questions come up, please, we have a space on our website that you can send us a little message, DM us, send a raven, whatever you want to do, because she's already going to come back to do a Q&A. We are cooking up some fun ideas with her. So there's going to be a lot coming. So please, as those questions come up, shoot us the little message because she will be around TMV town.
She's our fairy godmother. Let me just tell you right now.
She's our fairy godmother. Absolutely.
We're going to get comfy cozy in this episode. So buckle up. And enjoy it.
Get a
enough
cozy
of
tea,
our
coffee,
voices.
fun drink. Yeah, enough of us. Get to
it. Enjoy our episode with Anne Louise. I woke up, can I tell you, with such a smile on my face because I'm so excited that we're doing this and I'm so grateful that you're here. And it was like a very surreal moment because Meadow and I have been doing this podcast for 2 years now. But this is the first time that I feel like family has been really included in it. So this is really special for me. So I'm really grateful.
Thanks. I'm really proud of you.
Thanks.
And I'm proud of what you're creating. You know, you're doing something that you're passionate about. And I think that is the wealth.
Okay, I want to dive in with you because we have a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover today. We start every single episode. We ask every guest, what are you currently unpacking? You can take it however that means to you.
Yeah, but define to me what you mean by unpacking.
It means something that you're moving through in life. It can be light, it can be small, it can be a whole lot of things.
Well, it's been a year.
Yeah.
I think I'm moving through accepting some things I don't want to accept. Losing my beloved partner suddenly, losing my sister a few months after, and both being there as they took their last breath. I can say that with my work, 40 years I've been doing this work, and death is a huge part of it. We lost the father of my children, which Gabby knows. Gabby is, you know, her mom's my sister. She's my girl. And just accepting it. And I'm sure, Meadow, you can understand. And, you know, we can all understand. And I think this is where it's at. I am allowing myself to be in the process of unpacking without speeding it up, without sitting here in a sense of denial or I wish or I could. Just really being in a place of allowing myself to be in the process instead of rushing myself, instead of doing a check off list, which is I'm very goal oriented. I'm a businesswoman besides other things. So, you know, you gotta, and I feel very supported by my children to also just be able to, you know, and your sister, Gabby, to be able to just be in a process with it. And nobody pushing me to feel differently. And that has been so safe to unpack your mourning and your grief And past the mourning and grief, it is the loss of people you enjoyed.
Yeah.
So I can understand physically, you know, metaphysically, it's all energy and all these different things that I even lecture about with death. And it's absolutely true. Consciousness transcends the physical. Absolutely. All of these are true, but there's a presence that I'm mourning of the loss, the future. So with this unpacking, I've learned how to have friendships differently because I'm in a different place in my life. So how friendships are defined right now is not the way it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that, you know, I'm growing all the time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm growing all the time, just like you guys are at a different stage. You know, it's a different, but it's so painful on so many levels, but at the same time, there's a sense of joy. And I was walking a couple of months ago and I was thinking about death and I was thinking about mourning and I was thinking about all these different things. And then I was thinking about, you know, my beloved, and I was thinking about how I missed him and all these different things on our routine and our walks and blah, 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 and the dogs. And then I was thinking, and it hit me was, if you don't move forward in joy, then there seems to be a lack of trust of the way I loved you.
That is beautiful.
Oh, you nailed it. I have
Yeah.
chills just talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Really. And so when I go to that, I think, where am I at with this? You know, trusting that someone loved you and you spend so much time together, my sister, or like, no, I'm going to trust the love that we've shared to be the foundation that pushes me forward in a gentle way.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
Right?
and not rush to a finish line or to the other side or to whatever that means.
Yes.
I'm going to try to not get distracted by death because you know it's our favorite topic.
Yeah,
but
mine too.
we're so synergistic already. This morning I was just thinking about the rush to heal because my mother 2 days ago got a pretty major surgery, and everyone has been saying, oh, you know, I hope she heals fast, like heal fast, get better soon. And I thought about that in the emotional sense too, of like, why do we need to heal fast? Like, why can't the process just be the process? Like, there's no rush to get through it. Like, I rather have her, you know, feel out, take her time, move slowly. Like, and I was thinking about how that translates emotionally. I think that's such a beautiful unpacking, that there's no rush to get to an endpoint, because that endpoint's just going to keep moving anyway, right? Like, that doesn't exist.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if it's only about healing. I think it's also about, on some level, we call in these experiences for ourselves to be able to experience another expansion of ourselves. Like Gabby knows, you know, in the end of September, we got hit with Hurricane Ian. So my house, my business, boom. And then these deaths. And then you just go like, what? So I know the work that I do works because I'm here and I'm smiling and it's genuine and it's very sincere.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have been able to know another part of me without these experiences. And I think that's what we live for, right? We're not living for the checkoff list. And I was thinking about you all this morning in my meditation. I was thinking about what we were sharing. First, total state of gratitude. So thank you.
Same.
Very proud of you guys.
Thank you.
And I realize that we all go through different things. My pain is no bigger than yours or less. It's what I am experiencing based on my past and all my stuff and my stories. Nevertheless, you know, we were talking about languaging. You know, that was one of our conversations we had off. And I was thinking, like, if there's one takeaway that I like to give your audience is when you language, whether it's words, whether it's your thoughts, and it all starts with your imagination. I don't think people really focus enough on how they're imagining something.
Yeah.
Are you blessing? Are you cursing? So in a way, you know, even with those that passed, you know, I could find myself cursing them, even though I love them, and cursing that they're not here, and not doing it saying, oh, I cursed you. It's more like, you know, and I was like, whoa, I'm not blessing it.
Yeah.
But I allow myself to be in that place. It's really about the awareness. So I think a lot about language is when you language something, are you blessing or are you cursing it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's such a cool distinction. Okay,
That's it.
before we dive deep into the
Mhm.
nitty-gritty of language, give us a quick, you've been doing this since you were 14. Give us a quick background of how this found you, how you found this path,
Mhm.
and what you've been up to ever since.
Wow, that's a lot. I'm old in a good way. 14 was my first formal teacher. And some of your audience, they're probably too young to know S training and forum and all these different things, that he was a strong pioneer of that. And so I had the opportunity to be in his workshops. I was the youngest one for a long time. Had all these old people, 40 and 50 years old, crying over their parents and crying over all this. And I had a pretty challenging upbringing for different things. And, you know, I just didn't want to be that person crying over things as I got older. And really, I had a lot of empathy for these people, but I just didn't want to be that person at that age. Because, when you're 14, 15, a 50-year-old is really old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned the gift of forgiveness, and I learned how to define forgiveness at a very young age. And I learned how to be angry. I didn't know how to express my anger because there were consequences to that, right? So I didn't, so I repressed it a lot, which had other behaviors. So born and raised in Miami, didn't really like school, I'm very dyslexic. Today, if I was the student in school, they probably would have, highly medicated me, put me in a special school. It's fine. I was blessed to have parents that taught me that you just learn differently. And that's the way I trained my brain. But I wasn't interested in school. So anyways, I was known as maybe being in trouble. So I was lucky to meet this guy who was a teacher for my mom. And he taught me a lot. And I started to continue his work when I was 18, my first workshop. I'm now 56, be 57. And it's been a long time of doing the same work. And I feel like the point of difference with me, with other amazing teachers, is that this is my lifestyle. It's not separate from me. I built a family. I've built a business. I've built a life with these tools in this foundation. And it's keeping me, I just shared a bit of my last year with so many things happening and not being distant from it, holding someone and they're not breathing. This is real. And there's something inside of us that's so powerful, but in a very gentle way, that if we build more on what's inside of us, we're going to be very pleasantly surprised on how resilient we are in a way that we're still connected to our world. We don't need to detach to survive. So I've learned how to be more connected and through the work. So I've built business, family. I've been doing this a long time, but I'm learning all the time a new way to approach things. Your age group is lovely, and I learned so much from you guys. Like, even to put on a computer sometimes. Thank God your sister was here. I'm in panic mode. My daughter came last night to make sure the mic is set up because I'm in a new place now, a new apartment, because I'm like, oh my God. And so, so we exchange a lot, but I've had to shift a lot in some ways on the way that I present my material. But my work is the same as it was when I was 18. It hasn't shifted, because when you work from a foundation of what you love about yourself and you strengthen that and you learn to that defines you, and then you embrace others in your world based on what you love about you, you're only going to connect more with what they love about themselves. And so it's a lot more harmonious. You don't seem to feel divisive with stuff. But the world is challenging, and the world has its own PR system, and you just have to sit back and take time to be alone. And I think that's something that a lot of people just don't do because they have so much social media. I did once a couple of years ago. I took a survey on some of my workshops. How much time do you spend without any outside distraction? I mean, music, the phone, a background of TV. How much time a day do you really spend just quiet? Maybe just cleaning without any background noise.
Yeah.
I think people maybe said 5 minutes. In the car, you got something going on.
I
I
would
don't have
imagine
TV.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have TVs in any of my homes for a long time. If we
Mm-hmm.
want something, we pull a projector, and we look at it,
Same.
because you have so much knowledge inside of yourself. You have so much. And nobody is really taking the amount of times, not nobody, but when people feel that they're overwhelmed, it's all the noise. You got to decompress the noise.
Yeah.
So my year has been my year, and I have books out there. People can read a little bit more about me. I'm not really, I just feel like I'm just having experience just like everybody else, and I've just chosen to make this my focus because I'm really passionate about learning about people and sharing for them to be supported with the best of themselves and embrace that and connect to a higher consciousness. That was the other thing in my meditation is we're having these conversations, and you're more than just a human being. You're not a robot. You're a spiritual, energetic being having a physical experience.
Yeah.
Now that is powerful. That is just amazing. And drawing from that, whether you meditate, whether you take walks, whether you draw, meditation can be defined in many ways. You draw from more of you outside of your physical. It's very powerful, and life becomes easier.
Yeah, it does. There was so much in there that I felt like I had little movies of my childhood playing as you were talking. And something that I wanted to share with you was, I've known you since the day I was born. Like, you've been in my life. And you have remained so consistent because although you evolve as a human, as we all do, you just shared some of the things you went through in the last year and how that continues to illuminate parts of yourself. The essence of you has remained exactly the same. And I feel like it's because I was blessed to meet you at a point where you were so clear on who
Thank you.
that was. And I've learned so many lessons from you in terms of just not being afraid to actually feel what's going on, which is a daily battle, which Meadow knows I struggle with, but it's fine. We work on it every day. But whether it's that or just believing in my own innate abilities, or even just simplifying the language that comes out of my mouth and the way that I speak to myself, that has been something that I always remember you talking about. And your book, Power Wishing, which I'm holding here, which I've had for so many years.
Thank you.
This book came out, 2014, 10 years ago now. And this was the first time I ever heard about anything manifestation, anything visualization, anything co-creating. Like, that was, you've been my first introduction into all of this. And by the way, for everybody listening, everyone knows I went to Hoffman and love Hoffman. This woman right here is the reason that any person in my family has gone to Hoffman. Just so we can all thank her for that. But this book talks about all these things that were so new for me. And I feel like we're so new at the time to be speaking about in the way that you were speaking about.
Yes. Yeah.
And language.
Wow.
Yes. And talking about mastering what you call like our vibrational language to give us the life that we want and to meet us at that frequency. What do you feel like is the biggest mistake that people make with their language in terms of manifestation, or even just the way that they move through life?
Worrying about that they're making a mistake?
Or just the mistake. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's simple.
There's more frequency on worry and stress than stepping back and saying, wow, I'm just really worried that I'm going to make a mistake in the way I talk or the way I say something. And then taking a step back saying, well, why am I worried about this? And usually it's because you're an extremely sensitive, compassionate, kind person that doesn't want to offend someone, doesn't want to hurt their feelings. And then you got to go to another level. Well, would I hurt somebody's feelings? No. Am I a malice person that has intention to just like rip into them? No. So what are you worried about? Or are you worried about that somebody's not going to accept you for who you are, and you want to make sure that they have enough information to validate you? Well, then that's another conversation, because then you really don't trust your relationship with the other person to be yourself, right? So that you work on trust. So it's something that just, if you just take a minute like we did and just kind of go, I just don't really trust them like I think I trust them. And that's about me. That's not about them. So who are you having a relationship with if you're really not yourself? that other person doesn't even have a chance.
That's how I let go of people pleasing, was realizing it was a form of control. Like I was kind of projecting this narrative to try to get accepted, and I wasn't letting them make a decision about my authentic self, and I wasn't being my authentic self. So whether I got that validation or not, it wasn't validating because I wasn't being me.
Right.
So I felt like I was controlling myself and almost taking away someone else's autonomy to make a decision about my authentic being. And when I relinquished that or kind of pieced that together, that was how I was able to let that go.
And you attracted different people into your world.
Significantly.
Yeah.
I want to ask, so after we let go of the worry, what kind of tips, or where do we start with learning to speak the language that matches the frequency of the vibration we're trying to call in?
So first of all, going back to, are you blessing or are you cursing? So just right there, because you could be in a very heated moment. You can be talking with some people in a coffee shop and, they're gossiping or they're saying something. And then you can just right away just say, am I blessing this conversation with the way I'm sharing, or am I cursing? Right there. It's not overthinking. It's just easy. I think that it goes back to a little bit before. When people take a moment, and I suggest you take at least 10 minutes before you get out of bed, super easy, 10 minutes. Don't get on a device, because once you start with the device, you've already allowed somebody else to program your outcome. You haven't set your stage. I call it stage the day in the book, but you haven't set your stage.
Yeah.
And if you just play a little bit in your imagination, I want a house. Don't worry about the white picket fence. Don't worry about the color. How are you going to feel when you walk in that door? And just play like we were as kids, and just daydream and just play. And if you do that consistently, but just free, and you let it go, you get up, you get dressed, you go play, you've already anchored something in your system. So naturally, you will start languaging in a way that is bringing it more to you. But I think people got to just take a little bit more time and play with what you want to manifest. So give me something you want to manifest.
Okay, I'm going to say it's slightly different than yesterday because I already learned one lesson. I'm manifesting.
Okay, go ahead.
I already slipped up. I am manifesting a new apartment in a new city.
So funny when people talk to me and they know what I do. They're like,
I know. I'm like,
well, I really don't mean to say it like this. What I mean to say, and I'm like, can you just shut the fuck up and just talk to me? How am I going to know how you really feel if you're so worried about what you're saying, right?
Literally. For everyone listening, yesterday I said, I'm trying to manifest. And Anne Louise immediately was like, okay, try out the window. There you go.
You're done.
You're done. So I would just go back to what you were saying. You would like to
a new apartment in a new city. I'm moving cities, and I'm really focusing on manifesting what that new home will be when I get there.
Can I ask why you're moving to another city?
To be with your girl. I think there's
more than that.
There's a lot. So
don't blame me.
I'm moving to a city that I never thought that I aligned with and didn't envision myself there. And after sitting in meditation and having these visions and kind of letting that from the subconscious rise, I realized it only makes the next step for my career. I would have so much access to my community. I'm isolated from my community where I am now.
Okay, so just to play. We're just playing, okay?
Yeah.
So we're playing. So all that you just said has nothing to do with the way you want to feel in the city.
Yeah.
And so you already got to the point that this is where you want to be. Doesn't matter the rest. It doesn't matter how you got there. It doesn't matter why. I am here. And this is where I am. And you know what? Moving to the city just makes me feel I can be close to someone I really love. Maybe more than one, but I really love. And I just feel like, I don't know, when I think about moving, it makes me feel like I just have all these different opportunities in front of me. And it makes me feel really exciting.
That's exactly how it makes me feel.
That's the tiniest shift.
It's the tiniest shift, and it's exactly how it makes me feel. But that's the perfect example of like my language wasn't matching how I actually, like you said, more in alignment with, I could feel it in my body. Like I felt my spine more resonate with your words than my words.
But the thing is that because you guys are so loving and hypersensitive to how other people feel, you know, for what you do, and that you want to make sure you include people and all this stuff, really, you gave me your story to justify your choice.
Yes.
I was about to say that.
To defend it.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I feel like I move, and oh my God, this is what put me back in therapy recently. I really feel lately as if I've been recognizing, just being the youngest in my family and just, you know, the structure of my family dynamic, and also just starting my career as an assistant and as an intern, and, you know, having to be very grateful to be in every single room and making myself a fly on the wall. I feel this sense of needing to justify and ask for permission every step that I take. And it's that justification of, even when I talk about my goals, I feel like I need to, which really are these manifestations and these dreams and these wishes, I feel like I have to give the most bulletproof reason and explanation as to why those are my dreams.
Well, it's going to be really, really, really challenging to manifest them under that type of
like this suffocation
energy. Well, things go through their process. You know, it's like when you start dating someone, it's like this bliss and it's all great. And then all of a sudden you start to say, well, you know, I just think he's an asshole. He didn't call. He didn't do this. He didn't do that. And all of a sudden, you know, and then it balances out. So the thing is, you guys are getting it right. You just be in your process. And then when you acknowledge there's something that, you know, I'm just done with that. Just be done. The thing is sometimes people overthink. Do I understand? Should I be done? Should I think of, no, when you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
Just cut out the commercials. You're already making a choice to move there. Done. I didn't ask you, you know, what was your process of thinking about it? I didn't ask you. I simply said, how does that make you feel? And you gave me all this justification, which is bad training. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just bad training in a community setting. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Just cut it out. A lot of work that I do with people, especially in the workshops, is they need to understand why. Well, I don't understand a lot of things. And I do this for a living, besides having businesses, besides doing other things. But I am very interested in my emotions. I like that I'm an emotional being. I stay focused on wanting to keep that sense of gentleness and vulnerability, you know, even in times that I don't understand. And so sometimes we put so much focus on understanding something that's already understood. You already went through the whole exercise of moving. We're using that as an example. There's nothing more to talk about except how you want to feel there and how you're going to move forward while you're there. But if you keep going back to the other piece of justifying, what happens to your energy? It gets pulled back to what has already been resolved. The same in relationships. Look, if you have healed with your partner over something, don't talk about it anymore.
Yeah.
So let's say time doesn't exist. Let's say it doesn't exist at all. Okay, who knows about time? That's a whole other conversation that can be really lovely.
Meadow will join you on that one.
Everything everywhere all at once, baby. Let's go there.
I think it's really cool. But let's just say for a moment, time doesn't exist. You're languaging something is what gives time its existence. So when you pull something from the past and you keep on it, you just brought it as your present. And this isn't new information. The thing is, but energetically is exactly what you want to do. So if you're with a partner, this is the easiest thing. And you guys have been challenged over him leaving his socks on the floor. You know, you have a choice. Either you leave the socks on the floor and you ignore it, or you keep bitching about it, okay? But once he's resolved it and he no longer leaves his socks on the floor, you don't bring it up again.
Right.
One day the socks are on the floor. You've got to act like it's a new thing, or else you're going to compile it with the past that you've already resolved instead of just cleaning it up. Hey, babe, you forgot your socks. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry about that. Nobody's going back into the drama. But people bring their past and they bring it in to the present timeline. And then they wonder why they repeat patterns. You don't need a lot of therapy for a lot of stuff. I think therapy can be very positive, but I would like to see that therapists do not keep people in their patterns. You got to replace a pattern with what you want.
Right.
And move on, because we don't have time to be in fetal position half our life. We've got a life to live. We've got to get up. We got to get going. And we have to pay attention to things that we are doing. For example, if there's a challenge for me this year, I can only speak for myself, is what were some of my anchors? Well, I have 2 dogs. One is Sophia's that I have, usually the mom is given the dog because the kid doesn't want to take care of it. Well, I took the dog.
Right. And this dog, by the way, is a human being. Those eyes are not dog eyes.
He is just, but purposely, I had to get up every morning. I had a responsibility. I had to show up for the dogs. I couldn't stay in bed all day. I had to get up. I had to walk. I gave myself a minimum of 5 miles in the morning, a minimum of 10 miles a day of walking, regardless. That was my non-negotiable. So whether I wanted to or I didn't want to, I could do nothing else for the rest of the day. But there was something in my energetic system that I am doing something routine that is showing I'm alive, I'm healthy, I'm feeling good. And so I ask people sometimes, what is your non-negotiable of a routine? You need something that your body that can depend on, some type of consistency, something. That's why they say when you go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time, there's something about our body chemistry that we have to train a little bit better.
Yeah.
So the other thing is, when you go back to language, I just wish I could give everybody a magic wand and just wish away the stuff you don't want. Don't make it so heavy, because we make that such a big part of our life, and the stuff that is working, we don't think we can really pay attention and appreciate it until we fix what's not working. And that is just a myth.
I'm geeking out again because, of course, the alignment's so real. Last night, I'm reading a Thich Nhat Hanh book, and the chapter I read last night, the entire chapter was about how the past and present only exist in relation to the present. The present moment is what makes them exist. And so I love everything you were saying. I want to go back real quick because I have a question about imagination and play.
Yeah.
Because I know I've been in this place before, and I'm sure there's listeners that do not have a regulated nervous system, are in the middle of a trauma, are new to this work. And I think it's really hard to access your imagination in that place. So I'm wondering if you have tips to how to come back to that.
You are using your imagination, because when you don't feel good, and when you're in a dark, we call it the dark night of the soul. We've all been there. It's scary. It's so scary that sometimes I just tell people, just hold on like a bad roller coaster ride. Just know the roller coaster is going to come down, but on the top of that ride, it feels like for sure you're going to fly out of your seat. There's no security, and you're just going to die. It's just over. But if you can just hold on to the ride, and when you're holding on to the ride, and this could just be a few minutes, push yourself to go to one good memory of something you've enjoyed. Anything. It could be playing in the grass, running around free as a little girl. If you know you're going through a challenging time, pay attention to what pictures you have around your house, what books you have around your house. What are you mirroring back to yourself as a reality? If you can't get your own reality clear and it's distorted with your imagination and what you're feeling, totally understandable. Look what you're facing around you. Do you have beautiful, well, obviously I have some close relationships with crystals around here. That will be another tour. Whether it's a 600-pound crystal, an 800-pound. It's really, you haven't been able to see a lot in the house, but there's quite a few here. But they bring me joy. So I make sure I have things, flowers. In my worst day, I went to go buy flowers. So there are things that we can do that are very simple to bring us a sense of beauty that we're looking at. So if we can't find certain things inside, what are you mimicking outside your world? Is there a picture of someone that you just had a breakup and it's all over your house? Well, what are you doing? Pack them up. You don't have to throw them away. Why do you keep on giving see, we have neuron cells, we mirror neurons, we're mimicking everything. So as soon as you look at that, you're going into a download of memory like this that is being awakened in your body. Why do you need to awaken what doesn't feel good? It makes no sense. That's not the way we heal in my book. We heal on loving ourselves. Love heals. And it really works. And the other thing, if people are going through a very difficult time, a couple of things that I would suggest. One, literally write down, who are your safe people? Where do you feel safe emotionally? Write down their names. The second thing is, do your best when you're not in such deep trauma to really take a moment to go to one of a best memory, a happy memory, or look at a favorite movie that brings you there. Like, get lost outside of yourself, because your body doesn't know timing. It only knows what you tell it. So something that happened at 5 years old that you always remember when you first started to ride your tricycle or your training wheels, and it felt so powerful, I bring people back to a moment in their cellular memory of how they wish to feel by pictures. We strengthen the picture because the body doesn't know if it's happening now or at 5-year-old. It only knows what you tell it. So when people are having a challenging time, pay attention to where you're going in your thoughts, because you are using your imagination. You're going to the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
You are doing the same thing. So the best thing to do is distract. Not with drugs, not with alcohol. Try not to do that, because it just fragments your soul, and it's really challenging to get yourself back together. But don't make yourself wrong. If you have a moment or two, just realize, where do you want to be? I want to feel whole and complete. I want to feel a sense of joy. I want to have peace. Where do you go for that? And if your mind is too much noise, go to a great, what they call, chick flick. Go look at two people, romance, silly, stupid, and you're like, oh my God, serious? Well, you just distracted yourself from anchoring more what you say you don't want. We speak too much about what we say we don't want, and we don't help support ourselves with what we really do want. And sometimes we can't get out of our minds, so you got to distract.
So this morning, I was looking at the book, and I did what you did yesterday before our little pre-call, and I just sat with the book for a second. I closed my eyes, and I was like, show me something I need to know. Just show me something I need to know. I did what you did, and I just opened the book, and it was exactly what I was thinking about. And it was a section about an awakened life. And it really reminded me of my time at Hoffman when I was 22, talking about just living your life on autopilot and how real that feels for so many of us. And this section was sort of talking about, I'm glad that you called this out, because I feel like sometimes it's often skipped over, and we get a lot of questions about it, of people being like, what if I don't know what the fuck I want?
That's right.
What if I don't know what this next step in my life? What if I don't know what I want my career to look like, or my relationship, or even my relationship to myself? What if I don't know? And you point out, it's fine. That's perfectly fine. But how do we get to that place where we can hear ourselves clearer to figure that out when the noise can just be so loud?
Pay attention to what you've surrounded yourself with. Just look at your house. Just look at things that you love. We are so clear. We just stop paying attention. Period. If you look around your house, look around your house. You love beautiful books. You love certain subjects. That right there starts to tell you what you love and what you're drawn to. You don't need any kind of personality test to tell you what you are. I mean, they're fun and they're great, and some people use them in companies, and that's great. But if you pay attention to your world, I love books. I love writing, and it's an irony because I'm dyslexic, so I usually have to have a good editor who I challenge, because the way I process is I start at the end and then I back up, So they're like, well, that's not the way I said, that's the way I do it, But I look around things that I love. I've been collecting crystals for over 30 years, little by little. And it didn't start out as a business. It started out as a passion, and it just evolved. Listen, You want to make a lot of money? Do what you love, period. And what is a lot of money when you're happy and at peace?
Yeah.
It's different needs.
Have you heard of the book The Psychology of Money?
No.
Okay, so I'm
lovely.
Gabby's on it right now.
I'm on it. I'm about to finish it. And it's exactly about what it sounds like. It's the psychology of money, but it's so interesting because one of my big goals for the last year was to really start to embark on my financial literacy journey. And so I was reading all these books about investment, about saving, about high interest or high yield savings accounts, like all these different things. And I was starting to get really fatigued. And I had this book in the back of my brain, and then a podcast that I really love, Diary of the CEO, brought it up, and I was like, that's right. I've been meaning to read this book. And I picked it up, and I was flying to Miami, and I read the majority of the book on that friggin' flight because I couldn't put it down. And it's so interesting because it talks about our habits and our behaviors surrounding money, and it makes you really pay attention to the way that you spend and like what was happening in the world when you were born during that time. And not looking at others as crazy because they spend in a different way than you or they invest in a different way than you. It's been an interesting moment to force me to slow down and think about what I genuinely want and the way in which I want to feel with the concept of money. And I'm wondering if we could dig in a little bit further to what I was just asking you about when we don't know what we want. But what happens, speaking from experience, how can we start to disseminate the feeling of I've grown, so there's discomfort with that change and growing into who I am, and feeling like a discomfort around maybe what someone else is telling you to do, which you're like, does that resonate? Are they right? And I feel uncomfortable because there's change coming, or do I feel uncomfortable because it doesn't sit right with me? Does that make sense, the way that I phrase that?
Yeah, well, listen to the way that you've been talking.
Yeah.
It's totally understandable. It's fine. But not once did you use the language, I choose. It's, I want. And wanting is very similar to the same energy as needing. It's very needy. I want. I need. I want. Hey, look, I'm choosing to be financially secure. And I'm looking forward to finding more opportunities to have clarity on that. That's gentle. That's saying very similar to what you were saying without all the hoopla. And you know
we
something?
Love hoopla.
I need to, yeah.
Don't
hoopla,
don't we all get wrapped up in the hoopla?
And hoopla makes a lot of money, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Keeping people in a state of confusion is a big business. But I think that, you know, the way I feel about it, when I just even this last year, but I spend time with myself, you see? So I have a foundation, and I feel like, Gabby, you in particular, you just play, you know, not really investigating why or how or what. It just kind of just get a couple of magazines out and just intuitively see what attracts you. And don't even pay attention to the pictures you're pulling. I used to do workshops on collages. Now they're very popular, but I built businesses on it because I realized that if I had a group of people and I'm saying, okay, these are the goals, but then I thought, whoa, we're going in different directions. And I grew companies so fast by sitting people in a room and saying, okay, give me boards. And I look and I'm like, that has nothing to do with what I just shared. So we would work on the same pictures, collaborating to have the same vision. I'm very visual. So for me, that helps. Same. But the way that it was done, if you're going to do something, is you get a bunch of magazines, get 10, take a deep breath, kind of just put on some good music, and intuitively just rip out what attracts you. And then lay it out. Not thinking, total intuition. Lay it out. Don't paste anything. Leave it there. Wait 2 or 3 nights. Go back and look at it again. See how it feels. A lot of times I read these collages, one of my favorite workshops to do. And I read them for people. I'm like, wow, you really love that relationship, but there's only one person in this whole collage. And people don't realize what they are projecting. So just play. There's got to be more play.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I did a lot of work in New York, and I did a lot of, very, very beautiful, interesting people that have very interesting lives. I said, well, they started to worry about things. And I said, but how did you get to this success? I just loved it. But now it became such a part of their identity that they stopped the playfulness of it. You guys started this in a very playful, loving way. Hey, what if?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We have nothing to lose. We have everything to gain. Now, all of a sudden, there's attachments to it, which is fine. You're an adult. Yep. There's certain things that you can be responsible for, but don't overdo it. Don't over dramatize, what you need to do. Choose. This is the base that I financially, so I'll figure it out. The base is $10, let's say, a month. Let me just put that aside. So you know what? Let me put it out there when I'm daydreaming that I have something that produces $10 a month, covers all my overhead. I let go of that, and the rest is play. And I look forward to multiplying my play money, real money. And you break it apart a little bit. There are things that I do that cover my base, but I do what I love for sure. Sometimes it's not the 100%, but I'll tell you it's a good 80. But I'm so clear on my non-negotiables that I don't even have those things. I don't have clients that are going to drain me. I don't have clients that don't show up. I have people pay me. They pay me. It's not a challenge. But did I used to have that? 100%. I used to have that in seminars and workshops and helping people. No. I help who I want.
Yeah. You said something yesterday that both Meadow and I were like, oh, interesting, because we've, like you said, there's been a huge commodification of spirituality in the wellness industry and all these things. And there's so much out there. And even if it's with good intention, there's just a lot.
Yeah.
And when we speak specifically about manifestation and like the content that's on the internet around it, a lot of it is really anchored and hyper focused in getting as specific as possible with like, we've been talking about money with like the amount, the number. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to go back to another piece and I'll get back to that. You having discernment on what is really your growth or resistance when you're working on something. What other people tell you is, should I listen? Should I not? All these different things that you started to say. I just, when I writing a book, it's a lot. You have to stay consistent with it. But there's such a passion to it that even if you don't feel like doing it, you're motivated on another level to do it. You find the discipline to do it. It's very different than somebody telling you what to do and how you should feel, where there's this pushback.
Yeah.
When there's that pushback, it's the same when you have high anxiety. If you have anxiety, it's just an opportunity to say, run like hell. Don't stay. Go. Run.
Yeah.
People say, no, maybe I need to grow. Like, no, lifting 200 pounds is going to hurt you. It's not building muscle. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
And there's just some things we do that it's like, no, stop going against yourself. Just stop it. And be at peace at being alone. You're not lonely. Just be at peace with that. Just, people want to be around people that know how to make choices because they love themselves, and you're a choice. You're not a default.
Yeah.
100%, right? So when it comes to manifesting, back to your last question, I'm very clear that it's about my feelings. Because I could manifest $1 million, but you have to feel that you're deserving of it, right? Because when it goes to The Secret, and it's something that I write about in Power Wishing, when The Secret first came out, like attracts like, and people have had very, very sad things happen to them in their lives. And many times people were coming, and it's like, how could this have happened to me? I'm not that abuser. I'm not that person. But like attracts like, what is it? And oh my gosh, I had to do just workshops on that. When it comes to money, you can visualize the Ferrari all day. And then you get the red Ferrari. You're like, damn, this works. But you don't feel worthy of the Ferrari. You're going to crash it. It's going to break down. So for me, it's not about the amount of money. It's the value that you feel in making the money, in attracting the money. Because there are many people that have a lot of money, and they have a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Money is not the root of all evil. Money is just an energy, and the way that we feel connected to it is the way that it can produce for us. It's supposed to work for us. We're not supposed to work for the money. And so when we have the money and we feel valuable, that we've earned it, but not by sacrificing, but it came in a flow. I've stayed consistent, whatever it is, but the feeling you want to have with money right now, the feeling you have with money, it's like so heavy and it's so part of your identity. And, as an artist, because you guys are artists also, I'm an artist in my own way. Like, you know what? It's challenging. Even the work that I do, some people call it spiritual work. You're not supposed to make money doing it. What are you talking about? Do you know how much money I've invested in myself and in my work to sit here and say that I shouldn't get paid for it?
Right.
No, I'm sorry. And how many people in this industry do very, very well, 100%, and some that are fantastic teachers do very poorly financially because there's a belief system that they're either doing God's work or some work and they shouldn't get paid for it. Why not?
Right.
So I think you have to see that what you're doing, whether it's a podcast or anything else, you have to put the value to it. And when you put the value to it, you'll attract people that will financially value it.
Okay, well, I have a question about something that you said yesterday because it validated just something that I always feel internally, but then I get met with these external messages or just, the entrepreneurial mentality that's projected on the internet and hustle culture and even just like the schools that I went to, the upbringing I had, all of this messaging just like compounds and throws itself at me and is like, you're not doing enough. And you said something yesterday about being an entrepreneur, because something that I think that's really special about you, and we talked about it for like a hot second in here, is that you've been such a prime example in my life as somebody who, and when I say this phrase with a grain of salt, can do it all. And what I mean by that is like, you've just chosen to be you and to do what feels right for you. And that's lended itself to you being a successful entrepreneur and building amazing businesses and doing great leadership coaching. And then also simultaneously being this incredible, intuitive, emotional teacher and spiritual teacher. And that combo is not illuminated often enough, I think. And so now with me stepping into this new part of my career, I think about that a lot because I see myself in pieces of that and being like, why can't I do these two things? Why can't these two things coexist? And yesterday you said something about the difference between choosing a path of least resistance and how that path is the path. And then also understanding that it's consistency, not this hard work that's like meeting a wall in terms of business. And I was wondering if we could dig into that a little bit because I feel like that's something our listeners have written in about before and I think about a lot.
How can I have it all and do what I love?
Yeah. How can I have it all and do what I love?
And make money.
And make money and not feel as if the only way to do that.
The second part of the sentence doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'm really asking to be guided to have balance with what I love and be an entrepreneur and be financially secure.
Yeah. And saying that makes me feel, frankly, delusional so much of the time.
Then you've got to work on why. Does that make you feel delusional? Why? Why?
I just don't think that's not what I saw growing up. Like I didn't see.
But you saw a lot of good stuff to help support you to be a good businesswoman. That's my point. So when you talked about like what we talked about before about ancestors and things of that nature, sometimes we're trained to pull the worst of our family instead of the best.
Yeah.
And so when you maybe do a collage or when you do journaling, only focus on what will support you for your manifestation. And you almost have to be like a horse with blinders. The rest doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there's a core discipline to that. Because you guys are very, look, I could have a big social media presence. I don't. I'm not a social media. Your sister's going to help me. My daughter's going to kick my butt with this, and they should, and I think it'll be really nice. Nevertheless, I'm just not on social media. I don't have TVs, but I'm where I need to be, and I'm with people that I, to talk to. The thing is, to me, it distracts me from being disciplined for myself, because I know my limitations too. I could go into another playground